Welcome into Bama Central 3 and Out with Mason Smith and Joey Blackwell. I'm Katie Wyndham. After the Alabama-Tennessee game on Saturday, now a pretty famous quote or press conference for Henry To'oTo'o for both fan bases has been the Alabama linebacker, former Tennessee linebacker, saying that the two teams will meet again, which is possible. It's never happened since the SEC went to championship game in football between the East and the West in 1992. Alabama and Tennessee have never rematched. Alabama has only played Florida a lot of times, Georgia a couple of times, and Missouri that one time. But Mason, Joey, what do y'all think? Do you think these two teams will face each other again in Atlanta in December?
Honestly, Katie, I think it's a very strong possibility that these teams will meet again. Kind of looking at Alabama's schedule, they're playing Mississippi State, and we talked about it a bunch of times. Playing Mississippi State after a loss for Alabama is just seems to be a recurring theme. So I'm looking forward to see how they perform. Then they have a bye week, a chance to kind of just rejuvenate, kind of get over some nagging small injuries, getting a chance to kind of refresh their minds. And as far as Tennessee's schedule goes, the only real threat left for them is Georgia and Kentucky. So I'm really interested to see how they kind of finish out. But I do think there'll be a strong chance that Alabama and Tennessee could see each other again before the season's over.
Yeah, for me, I want to take a look at Georgia's schedule. This Georgia team does have some solid games left on the schedule. Obviously, this coming weekend, I'm sorry, excuse me, on October 29th, they have to play Florida in the world's largest cocktail party there in Jacksonville. Then they have to host Tennessee, which obviously that November 5th matchup is slated to be one of the biggest games of the regular season, especially the biggest game in determining the SEC West. Then they got Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Georgia Tech. So honestly, when it comes to looking at the difficulty of schedule, I got to lean in Georgia towards Georgia because they do have a much more difficult schedule. But when it comes to these two teams facing off, I think when it comes to Alabama, I think they control their own destiny. It's definitely not going to be easy road. Ole Miss is looking really strong right now, particularly on offense, and Alabama's going to have to travel there. And Alabama has struggled all season in road games. It's also going to be a tough game in Baton Rouge. I know LSU over the past couple of years, that rivalry's kind of lost its luster, but it's really a solid LSU program that Brian Kelly's building down there. But then looking at the East, I kind of lean towards Georgia. That's because Tennessee's going to have to travel and face them there. Tennessee has had a couple of games this year that they've struggled. They struggled at Pitt. They struggled against Florida, and this is going to be another tough road test for them. So I'm leaning Georgia. But that being said, this Tennessee team has been really full of surprises. So it wouldn't shock me if we see an Alabama-Tennessee game in Atlanta in December.
Yeah, I personally don't think that they'll play again in the SEC championship. I think, like you said, I think that game in Athens, I'm gonna have to give the edge to Georgia just because it is in Athens. If it was in Knoxville, I would think Tennessee would win. I think they still can, but I think Georgia is. Then even like you said, Georgia probably has a tougher schedule from here on out. But if they win that head-to-head matchup with Tennessee, they would obviously still have the upper edge to win the East. Alabama could slip up at Ole Miss or LSU, but I think Alabama's going to win the West, so I think they will be in Atlanta. I don't think Tennessee will be there, but the really interesting thing will be is if Alabama makes it to Atlanta, Georgia makes it to Atlanta, Alabama wins the SEC, and then you got a one-loss Tennessee sitting at home whose only loss is to SEC champion. Could we see Alabama and Tennessee in the playoffs? I don't know. We're looking at a lot of hypotheticals here, guys, but which Saban would not like any of these because the games still have to be played on the field. And like Mason mentioned, coming up, Alabama has Mississippi State this Saturday. But that'll wrap it up for today's Bama Central 3 and Out. What do y'all think in the comments? What do you think the Alabama and Tennessee will play again? We'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching.